tradies, let's start Thanksgiving right now. Stay tuned for personal travel recommendations and a tasty cooking demo. Roll that intro. Hey, I'm Christine, and welcome to my channel where we explore travel destinations and the eats that go with them. Today, we are going to make a Thanksgiving favorite with a little pizzazz on it. This dish works well on its own or complemented with oven-baked turkey. It's sweet yet salty, bold in flavor, and perfect for serving on Thanksgiving or any day of the week. But before we get started, remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you never miss a video. Let's get started.
Boston, Massachusetts. Fun fact, the first Thanksgiving dinner took place in Plymouth, Massachusetts. However, Massachusetts' capital, Boston, is also very rich in history. Interesting things to do and see in Boston include Boston Common and Public Gardens, the oldest city park in the United States, the Boston Tea Party Museum. For my beer lovers, the Sam Adams Brewery, and an honorable mention, a day trip to Salem. Yes, as in where the Salem witch trials occurred. Salem is about a 35-minute drive away from Boston.
The first time I had today's dish was a couple of years ago. My cousin Tanya prepared it for our family's Thanksgiving dinner. The combination of ingredients she used blew my mind, and I knew I would have to have this dish again. So I decided to recreate the dish, and that's what I'll be sharing with you today. Today's dish is a cornbread stuffing. So what ingredients do you need for cornbread stuffing? So we pre-prepared a couple of things here, but we have some sauteed Italian sausage, onions, and celery. The sausage is something that you can just buy from the grocery store, but I added a couple of ingredients, a couple of spices to add more flavor to it. So we have the Italian sausage seasoned with adobo, a little salt, a little pepper. We have some onion powder in it. We have a little bit of rosemary, a little bit of thyme, and we also have some fresh sage that we added. It's optional if you want to use fresh sage or not, but I think it adds way more flavor to the dish, and it makes it something that you will never forget. So in addition to the sausage, onions, and the celery, you're also going to have some cornbread. So the cornbread you're going to prepare using the instructions on the box, but it's going to be a little bit different. You're going to add in some, you guessed it, sugar. What southern dish is made without sugar? I don't know, but we're gonna have the cornbread pre-prepared, put it in the oven, follow the instructions on the box, and then you have 2 standard size boxes of stuffing mix. You can use any brand you like. This is just an off-brand because you're gonna season it, so it doesn't have to be like a specific brand to use. So you have the dry mix here, and then we also have some chicken stock or chicken broth. You can use either. And then we have 1 egg pre-beaten. And then I have some water to kind of mellow out the chicken stock a little bit because you don't want it to be too salty because we already pre-seasoned the meat and the onions and the celery. And then the stuffing mix is already pre-seasoned, so you don't want to overpower your dish with salt. So that's why we're going to be adding water in the stock and not just doing completely just the stock by itself. So the fun part, once you've cooked this up and you have this ready, you're gonna want a big bowl to kind of mix everything in. So what I like to do is just use my hands or a fork or whatever you have to just crumble up the cornbread. So it's pretty easy, no science to it, just have a little fun. You can have your kids do it, but we're just gonna take it and crumble it. Essentially, you don't want it to be too small of a chunks, so I try to like move it around so it's not mat it together. And you dump that in the bowl. The sausage and the onions and the celery. One note to add is that when you're cooking the onions and the celery, you don't want to cook them, you don't want to overcook them. So just cook them so they're like slightly wilted, because you're gonna put all of this together in the oven and you don't want the onions to get too mushy. So once you add that in, you're just gonna mix it together. And this was one box of standard Jiffy. You can use any cornbread mix, but this one is just your standard one box of Jiffy. Once you have that together, you could eat this by itself right now if you wanted to, but we're gonna take it up a notch and we're gonna add in this stuffing mix. It's really not a hard dish to make. It's just combining everything and cooking everything separately. When you add everything in here, you're gonna just mix it nicely so all of the ingredients are fully mixed, so that you get a little bit of the cornbread, a little bit of the stuffing, and a little bit of sausage in every bite. So you have a nice dry mix here now. Smells delicious. So now we're gonna add a mixture of water, stock, and eggs so that everything will stick together. So we have about 1.5 cups of stock and 1.5 cups of water. So 1 part and 1 part. And then we have 1 egg. So you're gonna wanna add a little bit of butter to that. So I don't want it to be too powerful and too unhealthy. So I only did about 3 tablespoons of butter. Pre-melted it here. So we're gonna add that 1.5 cups chicken stock. You can use turkey, beef, whatever floats your boat. And then the water here. And then we also have 1 pre-beaten egg. Mix that together. Prior to this, you can, before you add in the raw egg, you can taste it to see if you want to add other seasonings in it. It's gonna be pretty flavorful with the sausage already. But if you like more salt, or you like a stronger garlic flavor or a stronger rosemary flavor, feel free to add in any seasonings at this point. So we have the mixture. And we're just gonna pour it in. I'm not gonna pour the whole thing in. I'm just gonna pour a little bit in at a time because we don't want it to get too soggy. Pour a little, mix, see what the consistency is like. Okay, it's still pretty dry, so I'm gonna add more in. Okay, yeah. This should be the consistency that you want. So it's a little mushy, but not too mushy. And I say that because once you put it in the oven, that moisture is gonna get cooked. So I'm gonna add a little bit more water now. So I just want it to be a little bit more mushy or soggy. I just want everything to blend well. So that's the consistency that we have now. And you're gonna dump that into a baking pan. Smells so good. So this is what you have here. You're gonna put it in the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes on 350. And when we come back, we'll have our first bite. So we're back with a completed dish. So the stuffing was in the oven, got a nice little browning on the top, and I topped it with some paprika just to add a little bit more flavor onto it and for presentation. Like I said, you can eat this dish by itself, or you can pair it with other Thanksgiving favorites or whatever you want to cook on a weekday night. It is very light and fluffy. It's moist. It's not, some stuffings are dry or too,
mushed together, so you can't really identify what's in it. But this one, you can clearly see the onions here. You can see the celery. You can see some of the sausage there. Nice little blend of flavors here. So, first bite. Yeah, you get that little crunch on the top from the browning, but you can taste the cornbread just enough. You can taste the stuffing, the flavors from the sausage, and the onions and the celery aren't too soft, so it still has a little bite to it, which I like. But if that's not your thing, you can cook them a little bit longer, but this will hit at your next Thanksgiving. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram at Treat Talk. I'll see you next time, but until then, keep on treating.